Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your Houston Open recap episode. Joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. What up, KP?
Not much. Just watched the end of the Houston Open. I'm in a hotel room in North Augusta, which is adjacent to actual Augusta. I don't know why I don't know. I don't understand that. Maybe producer Jacob with his South Carolina knowledge can weigh in on this, but just sitting here waiting for the Masters. I'm in quarantine right now, excited about this week and excited to talk some Houston. I actually have some takes off of this, so let's get into it.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk plenty about Augusta. Let's give credence to a couple of guys here at the top, but remember, Kyle already tweeted it out. Masters Week has started, and we know Masters Week does not start, KP, until you tweet it out. That's the official, right? That's the official start, I think.
I think so.
So we are obviously going all in, live streaming, which scary stuff. We'll be live streaming all week long. YouTube.com/firstcutpodcast. All the updates and everything will be on social, Twitter and Instagram at First Cut Pod. And we will try to incorporate as many questions from the listening audience or viewing audience as possible. So the best way to do that, the win-win situation for us, is drop them with a 5-star rating and review in iTunes, and we'll get through as many as we can. Houston Open. Carlos Ortiz with a scorching 65 in the final round. Kyle is your Houston Open champion. There's actually a lot of things I want to break down about this round, how meaningful it was, but you know what always gets me is when a guy is standing on the 18th green after just making the winning putt and he is fighting back tears. That gets me every single time.
Yeah, I thought it was so our guy Eric Patterson tweeted this out, and he said, I don't know that I would feel the same way I do right now if DJ had won. That DJ
True.
Definitely wouldn't have felt the same way. I thought it was kind of cool. Like, I thought it was pretty great. And the shots he hit on specifically 16, the putt on 18, it was I don't know, man. Like, Carlos Ortiz is like the story of the middle of the road professional golfer. And that's a successful career. It's a good life, but it's not kind of the stuff that we always talk about, like Rory and JT and Rahm and all these guys. That's very atypical. And so, yeah, I thought his celebration with, I guess it was his wife or whatever. I don't know. The whole thing just struck me as very authentic and genuine. I thought it was pretty cool.
Third Mexican-born player to ever win on the PGA Tour, the first player to win from Latin America since Sebastian Munoz did at the 2019 Sanderson Farms. He's 29 years old. Let's talk about a couple of these shots, Kyle, because he was locked in. I think of the approach shot on 16, which is a par 5. He was 222 yards out. I think he hit 6-iron and he started walking after it immediately. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be good.
Yeah, he definitely hit 6-iron because when he lowered the club and you could see the 6 on it, unless that was a 9 and I'm just a moron. And Carlos
and he's jacked.
And Carlos Ortiz hit 9 irons, 220 yards. That's definitely not the case. That shot was awesome, especially after DJ makes par on 16, because I actually didn't see what happened on DJ's second shot. Like, was he in trouble off the tee? I didn't see the way he played that hole.
No, his approach kind of, I think he like flared it out to the right. He had to try to get up and down. He didn't hit a particularly great pitch and couldn't do it.
That's right. Now I remember. Yeah. So and it was weird because they kept showing this shot like from Carlos Ortiz's angle, and he's always watching DJ, which I guess is the position you want to be in. It's probably not super comfortable, but he was at least always out in front of him. And so to know DJ makes par and then you follow it up with that approach shot was that to me felt like when the tournament was pretty much over.
Yeah, he actually missed the eagle putt from 8 feet, but was able to tap it in for birdie. And then the shot that closes this thing out, the putt on 18, right to left breaker. I'll tell you what, KP, he had 2 putts to get down from there. It was from 22 feet. That thing was moving. Okay. If he misses the cup, like he's got a little knee knocker coming back for his first PGA Tour victory ever.
Well, it was moving and it was not very straight. I mean, it bent in the last 2 feet. So Yeah, I didn't even think about that actually. That would have been tough. I mean, and especially with how like he was clearly emotional, right? Like he was even like over the last few holes, and I don't watch a ton of Carlos Ortiz, but he just looked very like he had a lot of emotion going on, and like his face was like kind of contorted, like it seemed like a lot. And somebody tweeted, I can't remember who said this, maybe Will Knight said nobody beats Carlos Ortiz 118 times in a row. which was pretty hilarious. But look, he's a good player. He had a great week. Cool for him to get into next year's Masters by beating DJ, Hideki, Brooks. It wasn't like, it's not, no offense to Brennan Todd or, anybody else. It's not like winning the Bermuda. Like that was a real, like, you beat some studs on what I thought was, I don't know what you thought about it. I thought it was a cool course. I thought the course was awesome.
Okay, so I'm always a big, like, 12 under par for me is like the ideal winning score. You shoot a couple under each day. Carlos Ortiz finished at 13 under. He won it by 2 shots. But yeah, I like to see, and it was it was pretty simple too, right? I mean, it's just raised greens, kind of closely mown areas around the greens that kind of roll off, that can give these guys real fits. And we saw that all week long. Guys were hitting some really big, they couldn't get up and down, and it really created some interesting situations. I love the way it played out.
Well, and that's what several people were talking about this. Like when you have a course where things can kind of run away from you, right? This is kind of what everything is based on. Links golf, like where it was originally created, everything can kind of get away from you if there's wind, if the ground's hard, whatever. It's weird because it's different than like Winged Foot, which Winged Foot to me and you seems so different. Like it's so hard because the rough is up, and but to those guys, like you can almost control things better when the rough is up because it's not gonna, and again, like Winged Foot's very difficult, but at a place like this, even though it's more wide open and there's not a ton of rough, sometimes that gets difficult because the ball can run away from you. And I saw somebody tweeted it out early in the week, like there are more I think it was more triple bogeys at Memorial Park than there were at Winged Foot for the entire week, which I don't know. I don't remember the exact stats. Something like that, which I think speaks to kind of what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Tip of the cap to Carlos Ortiz. He will be in the 2021 Masters. He will not be in this version of the 2020 Masters that we will get next week, but Dustin Johnson will be. He finished in a tie for second. He shot a 65 on Sunday. The big question leading into this week, Kyle, was, is Dustin Johnson going to have rust? It is a situation where he tested positive for COVID a couple weeks ago. This was his first start back, and I think we got an emphatic yes. He had a ton of rust that lasted 12 holes because he went out in 38, 3 over par on Thursday, and was dynamite the rest of the week. And he comes up a little bit short here, but my, oh my, everybody's licking their chops for DJ next week at Augusta.
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts here. One, and I tweeted this out, like, doesn't it seem like if everybody had to take 5 years off and you just picked up clubs for a tournament that DJ, like after 5 years, DJ would win it by like 15?
Yes, of course. But like, why? Is he just that good of an athlete? Is his hand-eye coordination just that good? Like yes, I completely agree with that statement, but why?
Yeah, I don't. I think to me, it seems like what he does is less about, like, some guys you watch and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 19 things that have to be timed up perfectly for the ball to go straight. And they've done it so much and they're so good at it that those things can happen. I think about even like Ricky Fowler early in his career, like he talked a lot about like the timing of the swing, all these different things. And DJ, maybe that is true. It seems like somebody who, it seems a little like Steph Curry, where I know you put the work in, but also it just seems so natural to you to be able to go and do this thing that is very difficult for everybody else.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. He's just so, yeah, I never think of DJ as like a technical guy, right? He's just out there swinging the club and good things are happening. And yeah, I don't know if that's the way he feels.
It goes back to remember the video of him, like, how do you hit a fade, DJ? And he's like, I don't know. You just fade it. It's like, well, yeah, I'm like, that's the guy that I want after 5 years of nobody playing, because he's not thinking like all these different swing thoughts and time, all this different stuff. He's just swinging the golf club, which is, obviously has worked really well over the course of his career.
We've talked about him kind of being snake bitten a little bit heading into major championships or the Masters in particular. But here's the stretch of golf that he's going to get to Augusta, Georgia with. His last 6 starts: second, sixth, third, second, first, second. He's ready to go.
Yeah. What was the Tour Championship?
Tour Championship. So that's the official PGA Tour version of the victory. Not the official World Golf Ranking
board. I mean, how are you going to think about him if he does only win one major in his career? Like, does it matter to you that he only has one?
Doesn't matter to me. I think it matters to his legacy. I mean, it's very difficult to put him in an upper echelon of golfers that have 20 plus PGA Tour victories he's a win in 13 straight seasons. I mean, he's dominated this era, and to only have one major, like you can't put him above a lot of guys, right? If you're trying to do the ranks, which I know we do the ranks for clicks and whatever, but like if you're really trying to bear it out, like you got to have major victories.
Yeah, I looked this up today because I was writing kind of like a 10 storylines thing for the Masters. So there's 143 golfers who have won one major, and there's 82 that have won more than one major. So to me, just the separation between 1 and 2, and there's only, 46, I think, that have won 3 or more. You start to, it really, like, it doesn't sound like a lot, like 1 to 2 to 3, but you really start to kind of pare down the list of guys that have done that as you start inching up. Obviously, when you get into like 7, 8, 9, like nobody does that. But I do agree with you that legacy wise, like the difference between 3 majors and 1 major is way more than it sounds like, right? Like it doesn't like when we hear that, it doesn't sound like a ton. And some of that's because Tiger made it not sound like a ton, right. But the difference when you look at the list of guys that have done that is, it's worlds apart.
It's super special stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I want him to get off the I feel like, the difference between 2 and 1 to me is massive. And Mark has talked about the validation behind getting a second regular victory on the PGA Tour, let alone a second major, is kind of leaps and bounds. Another interesting name here tied for second at the Houston Open. It's Hideki Matsuyama, who there were 3 guys who shot the course record on Sunday. So Hideki, Taylor Gooch, and Mackenzie Hughes shot a 63, all now posting the course record at Memorial Park. But Hideki, speaking of guys who, I don't know, you could argue have underperformed in their career when it comes to victories, he's now trending in the right direction as he heads to Augusta National.
Yeah, he is. He's a great player, but I think my thing with Hideki, and maybe this is right, maybe it's wrong, I just never go into a major thinking like, you know what, Hideki's going to contend. Like what's his Aaron Hills? Is that where didn't he finish like second or third there? But like, has there been anywhere else where you're like, man, I think he finished 4th of the Masters one year. I just, my confidence level with him at majors is not high. I'm not totally sure why. Maybe it's the short game, or maybe it's the putting. Maybe I don't know why that is, but I'm not taking what he's done recently and thinking, man, it's going to be a great week for Hideki at Augusta.
It never feels like he's in contention. Okay. So he has a lot of yellow boxes on Wikipedia, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a top 10 in a major. He's got a bunch of yellow boxes, but a lot of them seem to come with a low round on Saturday or a low round on Sunday where he was kind of never really in it, right? Like, has he been in the lead of a major championship on the weekend? Like, has that ever happened?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that. So he hasn't finished in the top 10 in a major in the last since, what is that, 2017 PGA. What was 2017 PGA? Was that Brooks? No.
It was, I have it right here. 17 was Justin Thomas at Quail Hollow. 18 was Brooks at Belle Reve. 19 was Brooks at Bethpage.
Yeah. So was Hideki in the 2017 PGA at Quail Hollow? I mean, maybe he was, and I don't really remember it, but
I don't think so.
He finished T5, and you're like, I don't know. But to me, the only one that I really remember is Aaron Hills, because I think he shot like a 65 or something crazy on Sunday to kind of backdoor a T2. But other than that, you kind of look around, you're like, I don't know. I mean, I like contend for something. Even we give Ricky Fowler a hard time, which by the way, congrats on getting him on the show. It's
It was great. That was a lot of fun.
But we give him a hard time for not winning majors. He finished second at the Masters 2 years ago. Like it's not that I don't know. It's just I feel like we give guys like Hideki a little bit of a free pass when he hasn't really been in it at a major championship over the course of his career.
Yeah. So here, that Quail Hollow PGA Championship, he was tied for the lead with Kevin Kisner through 2 rounds. He was 1 shot back through 3, and he finished 3 shots back of Justin Thomas for a tie.
Okay, so he was in it, but I don't know. It's sort of how I feel about DJ at Augusta. You're like, I know he's got a bunch of top 10s, but like, was there ever a moment with DJ at Augusta where I was like, Dustin Johnson is winning the Masters on a Saturday or Sunday? I've never felt that, and I sort of feel the same about Hideki more broadly at major championships.
Yeah, Hideki has not inserted himself into the conversation enough at major championships. A guy who has won, Brooks Koepka, finished in a tie for 5th, flies up the leaderboard on Sunday at the Houston Open, and actually the weekend was great. He shot back-to-back 65s, and now we play the game again, KP, which is like, oh boy, it's major season. The Masters is here. Brooks goes 65-65. Now what?
Well, I don't necessarily know what, but here's a stat that I looked up. So Brooks has won 14 times worldwide in his career since 2012 is when his professional career began. He's won actually every year except for this year on some tour, not necessarily on the PGA Tour. And the tournament directly preceding 8 of those wins was a top 10, which is a little weird because he's not like a top 10 machine. Like I don't think of him as being a top 10 machine. And statistically, he's not really, but he does have these like 2, 3, 4 tournament stretches that seem to kind of cluster around the majors where you're like, oh, well, I guess Brooks is playing well this month or whatever.
So you argue he's kind of telegraphing a lot of these victories by playing well leading into it. He's not one of these guys that just snaps off, flips the switch and wins them. He telegraphs it a bit.
Yeah, so he won Bethpage the week before he finished top 5 at Byron Nelson. He won I can't remember what else. It might have been Belle Reve, and the week before he finished top 10 at the St. Jude. So he does this a lot, and I don't necessarily know if that means he's going to win the Masters, but I mean, even pulling back, like it's nice to just see him play good golf, you know? I thought it was weird. He said after his post-round deal, he said he put a new driver in the bag the first 2 rounds and it probably cost him the tournament. Which I guess, like, I don't know, get everything out of the way, get everything that you need to for Augusta. But I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, you know what it is. So, I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling through his official World Golf Ranking page, and even majors aside, his victory at the WGC FedEx St. Jude, he had a top 5. His start before that, his victory at the PGA Championship, finished 4th at the AT&T Byron Nelson previous CJ Cup victory. He finished in 7th at Alfred Dunhills, which is a European Tour event. So maybe there is something to this, KP. Now, I'll throw a little bit of cold water on this. As much as I tweeted this out today, like what would be the best final pairing or final group a week from right now on Sunday at Augusta National. And a lot of it included Brooks. And I think that would be amazing. He kind of he gained over 8 strokes between his putter and his short game this week. So around the green and putting, he lost strokes on approach. That's not something that's usually very sustainable for Brooksy. So I want to throw a little bit of cold water on it, but I would love it, obviously, if he finds a way to inject himself in the leaderboard next week.
Yeah, and that's a little of what we saw at TPC Harding Park, right? Is like sort of this faux contention where when the chips are down on a late Saturday and on a Sunday, it's like your game's really not there, and so that might be the case, but I don't know. I think that I at least have a little bit of like, hey, Brooks is alive going into Augusta, rather than like, is Brooks alive, which is kind of what the last 18 months have been like.
I mean, we're obviously going to talk a lot about the Masters, but we could probably not ask for better results leading into this, right? Bryson's coming off the win in the top 10, and he's been hibernating for 4 weeks. Jon Rahm, DJ.
I love it when you say that he's hibernating.
It's really true, right? I mean, the guy's hibernating. DJ, Jon Rahm have been on fire. Justin Thomas has been really good, but flying under the radar just because everyone else has been awesome. Xander's been great. Now Brooks is giving us a flash. I mean, if you wanted all of the powers of the golfing world to converge for the biggest week of the year, feels like we're getting it.
Well, I'm just looking through the top 20, and I guess the guy that you're the most like down on, so to speak, would be Fleetwood.
Yeah.
And everybody else is kind of like playing pretty great. I mean,
Hatton's won 3 times in 15 starts, now 16 starts. Webb Simpson, Patrick Cantlay just won. Like, I mean, this is it, baby. Let's go.
I think Rory, you might be a little down on, although he's played better over the last 2 or 3 starts.
It's only by his own standards, though. Like, he's been good. So unfortunately, Rory's amazing.
For sure, I agree. But I was looking at his. So Data Golf has this great thing. I'm not paid by Data Golf, by the way.
You should be. We're going to work on that.
I should be. You can stretch out like the true strokes gained over the course of somebody's career. And if you look at his strokes gained on approach shots over the course of his career, it's only been lower. Like it's a 50 round lagging average. So that's probably 3 or 4 months. It's only been lower than where it is right now. I think once, maybe twice. So he's really, his iron play is not, I mean, and again, like, should you be looking at a 50 round window? Should you be looking at a 5 round window? Who knows? It's been better the last few events, but it hasn't been great the last 3 or 4 months. So I think that's the part where you have to hit your irons great at Augusta to win.
It's funny you brought that up because I did the same exercise this morning. I used a 38 round lag because that's since the restart. That's how many rounds he's played since the restart. So okay. I wanted to find, was there another 38 round period that he's been this bad? And the answer was yes, one other time about 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, who knows? I'm wary to pick. I don't know why we're talking about Rory right now. I'm wary to pick him at Augusta just because it's become such a thing that it's just, I don't know. It almost feels like it's gotten too big. Like he needed to get it out of the way in 2011. But who knows? Maybe not having patrons there. Maybe not. Maybe the November thing is. I mean, you're going to hear that narrative a billion times this week. Maybe this is what Rory needs. Maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe he just needs to hit better iron shots into the greens at Augusta National.
Yeah, that should be the narrative, is don't be tour average with your irons for 38 straight rounds. Just be yourself. We're going to talk a lot about Augusta National. We are going to look ahead to some potential picks for next week. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. All right, KP, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about this. I tweeted it out. The responses were basically Brooks and Bryson for the most part. But if you have to pick a final pairing Sunday at Augusta, and you can any criteria you want to determine this is the best pairing, who are the final 2 guys in contention?
So I have 3 different answers. Just I haven't given this a ton of thought.
3 different answers. Okay, I like it.
So Rory JT would be great.
Yeah.
Just as like, hey, I don't know. I always go back to that quote about how Rory said JT was the other hardest working guy, and I think they're both pretty likable. My son, like those are his 2 guys, Rory and JT. So yeah. I think that would be cool. Rory and Bryson, I think your answer is one of the ones that sticks out. And then I think one that is a little, maybe off the beaten path a bit is Morikawa and Matthew Wolff. I think to get, because we saw a little bit of that at TPC Harding Park. They weren't playing together, but they were both like top 4 for that last 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, we haven't seen a first timer. They're both first timers at this event. We haven't seen a first timer win it in 40 years. And I think that a bunch of different circumstances have kind of set up for a first timer to win it this year that are very unusual.
I agree.
And I think that those two guys, they're going to be on Ryder Cups. I mean, I think that would be kind of a cool ending to 2020.
I completely agree that if there was ever, I mean, we know what Fuzzy Zeller, 1977 or 8 or whatever it was the last first time or debutante to win at Augusta. If it was going to, like, I feel like it's significantly more likely this year with potentially different conditions, different wind directions. We talk about what experience means and guys who have 10 years of knowledge built up in their brains. If it plays a lot different, might take them a round or two, might mess with them.
Yeah, and I think that not having patrons there matters. I think, just the delay of not having to play it in April, whereas now Morikawa has the experience of winning a major championship. Wolf has the experience of playing in the final pairing at a major championship with Bryson at the US Open. That, again, like, it's weird that the Masters is on the back end, but I think all of those things that we just both mentioned could lead to one of those guys winning. I really do.
My answer of, as you mentioned, Rory and Bryson would just be, I mean, come on, it's good versus evil. Rory going for the career Grand Slam. Imagine him stepping up to 10T in the final pairing with Bryson there, who's trying to, I mean, if there was ever, golf is such a traditional game, no place more traditional than Augusta National and the Masters. Bryson trying to break it. Obviously we've spent a lot of oxygen on him the last couple of months, last year or so. That to me is like great for golf and great for us in the media, because we're going to have a lot to talk about.
For sure. And I think that you would have everybody rooting for different things too. You would have fans and media rooting for Rory because he's the best. You would have other people rooting for Bryson because they want to see this sort of change in the equipment game and the way courses are played. You would have, I mean, there would be a lot of different angles to those guys playing together. And we didn't even mention, like, I don't know, DJ and Brooks, or Rahm and Rory, or, throw Reed at Spieth, or I don't know, something insane. Like, there's so different.
The defending champion Tiger Woods, we didn't even mention.
I keep forgetting his game is just, it's not good. I mean, yeah. We'll talk about Tiger next week, but I wrote in my 10 storylines. I wrote that he's more likely to serve Wendy's at the Champions Dinner than he is to win the event this year.
Oh man!
No offense to Wendy's.
Wendy's is pretty good, but that's tough. I don't think it's wrong, but it's tough. It hurts.
Frosties, maybe some Frosties at the Champions Dinner.
Frosties for everybody. All right, looking ahead to, let me pull up the odd board here real quick. So William Hill, and these numbers have moved a little bit. DJ obviously coming off of that finish at the Houston Open, dropped a point or so. So here's where we're at. Sunday evening before Masters week.
Can I try and guess?
Sure. I love this.
Okay. By the way, I'm watching Corey Pavin play this senior event right now.
How's he doing?
Are you watching this?
No, I have Red Zone on.
He just carried one like 205 yards. So it's a tough scene on the championship.
Different game, I think.
Yeah. So I think Bryson's like 7-1.
Yeah. William Hill, our partners, our friends over at William Hill right now have him at 8-1. He is your
favorite. 8-1. Rory at 9.
Rory's at 12.
Woo!
There you go. We just found Kyle Porter's value bet of the week. Because we would have taken Rory at 9.
Is Rahm at 10, JT at 11?
Yeah, so you're right on. So there was a little bit of drift. So Rahm is 11, JT's at 12. So you're right in the neighborhood.
And then DJ at probably 10 or 11.
DJ got to 9, so that was the move. So we are now at Bryson 8, DJ 9. Rahm and JT have drifted to 11 and 12. Rory has also drifted to 12. And then Xander at 14. And then Brooks made a move today. Because I think you could have got him at 22 2 days ago. He's 16-1 now.
So I wrote an article probably 6 weeks ago about guys that you should get in on then because their value is going to be different. And one of them was, I think Xander was like 18 or 20.
Yeah.
And I thought he would settle at probably at best like 14, which I guess is probably maybe I think I might have said 12, but I think that's hopefully people got in on that. And then the other one to me that there's value on is Rahm at 11. To me, he should be. And again, you're not getting like, you're never going to get a ton of value with these guys, at least with the top guys. But to me, Rahm should be 8, 9, 10, not 11 or 12.
I want to talk about Bryson and DJ here, just because they're both so similar. 8-1, 9-1. I would argue these guys kind of have some of the largest ranges of outcomes, right? Like Bryson might go nuts and win this by 6 shots, and DJ might just go nuts. But like outside of the 80, 78 stretch that DJ had, whatever it was, Memorial and Traveler, something like that. His floor is pretty high, right? Like I feel like that stands out in my mind, that like, oh my God, he might just implode and miss the cut and all this stuff. But really, outside of those 3 rounds, that might not necessarily be true.
Yeah. And I think when I think about what you just said, I think about his floor specifically at majors. So he's played 44 majors in his career.
That's crazy.
And he's finished in the top 10 19 times.
Also crazy.
Which is almost half. I mean, it's probably, I guess, 40% or 42% or something like that. That's a lot. Yeah, you know? And if you look at, he's finished in the top 10 at each of his last 4 Masters. He's finished in the top 10 at 4 of his last 5 U.S. Open. So it's almost tilted even more heavily toward, you know, the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, since 2015, he's played in 4, 8, 12, 16. He's played in 21 majors, and he's finished in the top 10 in 11 of them. So he's 11 out of his last 21 in terms of top 10s at majors.
That's wild. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Sick. Yeah.
I'm trying to look here. The top of the board is.
But what do you do with that?
I don't know. I'm telling you, the top of this board here, I can't remember. I mean, I have a pretty bad memory, but like, I also can't remember being like, there's like 5 guys I love here. Like I'm luckily sitting on a JT ticket at 20-1 from like a year ago. Yeah. So I don't really have to make a Justin Thomas decision this week. I've already got that. I also have a Justin Rose ticket that is probably worth less now than it was at like 60-1 or whatever.
Who in like the top 20 or top 15 in the world would most surprise you if they won?
Probably, as much as I love him, probably Webb, I think, would be the most surprising.
Not Daniel Berger?
Well, if Daniel Berger finds a way to get in and then wins it, I would color me very surprised. Yes. But I think it's Webb. I love this guy. I think, unfortunately, the game hasn't been as sharp, but like, it looks like it's going to be kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it's warm, but like, I thought they dodged a bullet on it. Could have been really cold down there. How is the temperature, by the way?
It's phenomenal. I've been going on runs in the morning, and it is like, I mean, it's the kind of weather where you can either wear pants or shorts, and it does like you're good either way. It's so perfect. It's supposed to rain a ton though.
Yes, there is rain in the forecast. Now, I've been kind of joking that like Augusta National with the sub air, and they can basically put a bubble over this thing and we wouldn't even know it's raining, which is kind of a joke. But only kind of. Like, if it plays longer, right? If it plays wet and longer, I think it's definitely better for Bryson, definitely better for DJ. I think it hurts Webb a lot. As much as I'd love to see him win it, that would be the one I think is probably most surprising.
That's probably right. Although he had like the quietest T5 ever last year. I think Hatton and I don't know. Reed feels weird to say since he's won one within the last 3 years, but it's just I don't know. That to me would be I guess a little surprising.
The thing about Reed that's interesting is I feel like he can win a lot of different ways. Like, if this somehow gets to, obviously exaggerating, but like 18 under par, I feel like he's alive. If it gets like 9 under, I feel like he's alive. You know, it's kind of weird. Everything has to kind of click for him, but we've seen him get hot at times. I don't know. It's an interesting game to play, like which of these guys, because they're all so good, and we've talked about the form that they're in. It'd be hard to pick against one of them.
Man, I'm pumped. I'm so excited. It's gonna be awesome.
So how are you? Okay, so you are in quarantine at the moment. So
Yep.
you're not allowed to leave the hotel room and go
Uh, I don't know who's listening to this, but
yeah, you're staying in the hotel room.
yeah,
Don't blow this
yeah,
now. Kyle Porter has not left his hotel room. He's not gone out for runs. He's not done
yeah.
anything.
I've been actually doing laps around my bed. So
There you go. That's what you meant. And then you'll think about be at the course maybe Tuesday.
I think Tuesday at the earliest, or then maybe Wednesday. The weird thing this year, there's not a ton going on. So usually you're at the course on Wednesday, and there's a lot going on, right? You can go practice rounds in the morning. You got par 3. You got press conferences with different. There's a ton. And this year it's like, I don't know. Do I even need to be there until Thursday? I think that part. There's some. I was thinking about this today. There's some like legit like lament in all this, like. So much of the Masters is such a celebration of golf, of community, of all these different things, and you don't get that this year. I mean, you sort of get it, but not really. But also, it's awesome that we're still having a Masters in 2020. So I've got kind of these conflicting emotions going on, and I'm sure that'll be the case for a lot of people that are kind of involved with this at a high level this week.
I wonder how it's going to feel once play starts. Thursday morning when the event starts. Obviously, no patrons will be weird, but I wonder if everybody will just be like, all right, here we go. We've got a leaderboard. Let's rock and roll.
I think that's probably true. And I think especially because most people are experiencing it on TV or online, like it won't feel. I'm really curious, and I'm going to write this piece on probably Thursday or Friday, like, because I've been here so many times with patrons, like what is it like and how is it different? It is, I mean, obviously it's going to be different, but what is it like specifically without them? And, we've talked about this a little bit, but it's going to change the outcome of this event. You can't live the alternative reality. Like you can't live in the alternative universe where, Justin Thomas wins with 50,000 people here.
Yeah.
But we have to go into it knowing that like it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same leaderboard or outcome if there were patrons here. So that part of it it's very strange to me.
I would like to see you write the article of the 2 million other simulations that could have happened if there were fans there. That'll take you a little bit of time, but that would be a lot of fun to see.
Webb would win.
Webb would win one of them. Okay, so wait, when I simulated this in April, Webb won it.
Yeah, I
know. Imagine if that comes true. My God.
That would be incredible.
So good. All right, we are going ham this week. Again, live streaming. Are you nervous about that?
Do we have a dump button?
Yeah, what happens? I'm scared.
I'm not gonna say anything controversial. I might say something controversial. I'm not gonna curse. So.
Greg and I tested it out last week. It went fine. We just got Jacob's on troll patrol in the chat, which is always good.
That's good.
So we'll be live streaming all week. That's youtube.com/firstcutpodcast. Obviously, check everything out on social. We'll blast it all out there at First Cut Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and then leave your questions in a 5-star rating and review on Apple iTunes. Kyle Porter is on the scene. You can follow him at Kyle Porter CBS. You can follow me at Rick Run Good. This has been the First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.